a very useful tool within the HealthOne toolbox, which helps us manage chronic diseases, is found within the configuration tool, and it allows us to set prevention templates, otherwise known as protocols. These are found just beside the alerts here. And as you can see, I have set up a number of protocols that I like to use. And here's my hypertension protocol, and it consists of a number of items. And if I want to add an item to this, if I want to create a new protocol, I press on this button. But in this case, I want to edit an existing item. So if I want to highlight the item, I can edit it here. And it brings up this dialog under which we have a main item which should read plan of action. With the contents systolic blood pressure. The plan date is set for 1 day, and this is for the purposes of demonstration, so that it is immediately falling due, because that's the nearest, the shortest range that you can set. You can't set it for 0 days, and that will help us demonstrate how it works. It's going to happen once every year. That can be adjusted. You don't have to say 100 times, but you can. You also want to identify an item that will appear in the notes when the task is completed beside the green checkbox with which you'll be familiar. And this would be systolic blood pressure, and that's important, and we'll see why in a moment. We're also going to ask to be reminded when we open this file from 2 weeks out from the date of the task falling due. So let's say OK to that, and let's just close that now. And we'll leave the configuration tool and pick a patient. And for the sake of this demonstration, let us just assume that we're meeting this patient sometime in advance of maybe a month ago, and that at that time we created a planning consultation, at which time we inserted our hypertension protocol into our file, stating that Dr. N. McGuire was to be the responsible person. So here is the protocol in our file. We now leave that patient's file, and let's assume we return to her file on today's date. We'll find that an alert has been fired here to remind us that there are action planned, tasks planned, or action plans in effect, and we can choose to undertake some or none of these tasks at this time. Perhaps the patient's consulted for some other reason and we don't particularly want to undertake any of these tasks, but HealthOne directs us towards this to give us the opportunity to undertake some necessary tasks. So let us say that we will go as far as recording the blood pressure today. So we'll say done from this screen, and it's going to give us the opportunity quite cleverly of not recording it back 2 months ago when the action was planned, but in a new transaction corresponding to today's date, which we are now allowed to set up. And it's confirming that we want to record that the systolic blood pressure task was completed. So we say OK, and now it asks us, do we want to continue to schedule this for the next annual check, which we generally will want to do. Let's also elect to undertake the blood tests at this time. And again, likewise, it prompts us to set the next due date for this task, which we've now done. So if we look at our medical transaction, we see that we have, importantly, systolic blood pressure and blood tests with green ticks beside them. And it's important that this is what's recorded, because now we merely have to click on this to bring up the Mediform for blood pressure, saving us quite a lot of time. And that's then recorded. And likewise for blood tests, it immediately brings us to the blood test Mediform, again saving us time. So here is a useful function within HealthOne that assists us in making our recordings, effectively giving us a list or a sequence with alerts attached to it.